This iPad has been on stage with me on countless shows for years now. It's been through roughly 200 gigs a year in pubs, in taverns, outdoor shows and private parties, at venues with no reliable Wi-Fi, and it has come through for me every time. There is no dedicated music app or subscription service running on it. There's no setlist manager, no auto scroll, no fancy chord charting software or anything like that, just lyrics and chords. If you're a singer-guitarist working the cover circuit, or you're building towards it, you've probably asked yourself the same question that we all have at one point: should I be using an app for my lyrics and chords on stage? And there are a bunch of options out there. There's OnSong, BandHelper, SongbookPro, and they all do a pretty good job. Each of them has their own little added touch with chart display features, setlist management, auto scroll, and even scheduling for bandmates. But for me personally, I never felt comfortable using those apps, and I especially did not like the idea of having to pay for additional functionality. So I figured out my own system using free tools. The way I see it, it basically comes down to finding a simple way to get a page of lyrics with some chords on it in front of you, fast. That's it. Everything else on top of that is just extra features. So let me walk you through the entire system that I use across hundreds of cover gigs. The core of my whole system is Google Drive. Every chart lives here as a Google document organized into folders for each one of my lineups, and when necessary, I add subfolders for special events that have a unique lineup or a specific song selection. And Google Drive is free. It syncs across every single device that I own. I've been using it for years as a cloud-based repository for charts, documents, spreadsheets, invoicing, brainstorming ideas, and design. Everything lives in there. There is one very important thing, however, that makes this system work cleanly for accessing lyrics on stage. This iPad is the one that I use for lyrics, and that's a very important distinction because it does not have the Google Docs companion app installed on it, on purpose. When I open Google Drive to access my lyrics and chord charts on this iPad, I get a list of all the songs in my collection. And when Google Docs is not installed on the same device, clicking on a song from the Google Drive opens up a simple preview for me, which is exactly what I want, because then I can just swipe to the next song with one quick motion and repeat as needed. If I had Google Docs installed here, however, that causes a big problem for me, because when Google Drive and Google Docs are both installed on the same device, clicking on a song in Google Drive then automatically opens the document in the second companion app. So on my iPhone, for instance, I have both of those apps installed. And watch what happens when I open Google Drive, and then click on one of the songs in my list. And boom, the second companion app opens, and now I'm locked into edit mode, no swiping from song to song. And what's worse is if I want to get back to the list, I have to start closing apps. And that is annoying because then it becomes super complicated to navigate between the two apps for every single song, especially live on stage, because then you look like you're just messing around on your iPad forever trying to switch between apps instead of performing. So whether it's an iPhone or an iPad or some other tablet, I always make sure to never install Google Docs on the device that I use for my charts. Not because Google Docs is bad, just because I only ever want Google Drive to give me that simple preview that I can use to swipe quickly with one simple motion to get from one song to the next really fast. Now, Google Drive also has this make available offline thing that I always make sure to enable on every file that I use at a show. It's a bit annoying to have to do it on each individual file, but it is essential, especially when the venue has unreliable Wi-Fi. And since Google Drive is a cloud service, I can also manage the sharing of those set lists and folders by sending an email link to grant access to other bandmates. And then they can either just view my charts or make copies into their own Google Drive if they want to, so they can edit or delete stuff, whatever they like. So now let's look at how each lyric and chord chart actually gets made. 99% of song lyrics are a simple Google search away. Most of the time, especially with really well-known songs, the lyrics are right up at the top of the Google search results. No need to even go to a website. But on occasion, even if the song is popular, it may be a bit more obscure according to Google, and I end up going to genius.com or AZ Lyrics. Then I copy the lyrics from whatever place comes up the cleanest, and then I paste them into Notepad. This is an old computer programming trick that I learned years ago, which basically strips away any of the formatting or weird text treatment, since Notepad only keeps track of actual text characters, no fancy stuff. I then copy the Notepad version and create a new Google Doc in my Google Drive, in whatever folder it is that I'm adding the song to. And then I paste that unformatted text there as a new song. And from there, I do a proper formatting pass, adding my own line breaks or correcting lyrics that I know are just wrong. I introduce spacing or punctuation as well to help give me cues about when to pause or hold for a moment. And then for the chords, even if I know the song, I just do a Google search, which almost always results in a link to the ultimate guitar page for that song. Then I go to have a look to see what the most popular transcription of the song is that they have there. But I always take that with a grain of salt because honestly, ultimate guitar chord transcriptions are generally garbage. And even though I'm more of a singer than a guitarist, I just know when the chords are wrong, so I correct along the way. But some songs have a really cool, tasty passing chord progression that escapes me, and I just have no idea. And certainly the people on Ultimate Guitar had no idea either. That's when I do a specific search for a video tutorial for that song on YouTube. And there's almost always a trusted, familiar YouTuber, guitarist, who's already broken down the song chord by chord and show you how it's really played. And most of the guys who've been doing it for a long time, they have chapters. They know you're looking for that one piece in the chorus or the bridge. You can just skip ahead and figure out how do you play this song. And even if I don't end up playing it exactly the way it's supposed to be played, I learn things. I learned about chord inversions and new positions and shapes. These guys are fantastic. The tutorials are awesome. And then the last thing is to do a quick playthrough to check the key. Sometimes I stay in the original key, but other times it's painfully clear that I need to change it and transcribe accordingly. Sometimes I use a capo if I absolutely have to, but I really try and avoid it whenever I can so that the rest of the band doesn't have to retranscribe all of their parts to match what I'm playing. Now, once my charts with lyrics and chords are saved in the Google Drive, then I can organize them for easy use on stage. But here's the thing. When I'm live on stage, I hardly actually look at the iPad. For my solo and duo gigs, my repertoire is pretty much fully memorized. Same thing for band gigs. By the time we're on stage, the set list is almost fully committed to memory and we're playing off of feel and eye contact, not off of charts. The iPad is there, close by, mainly as a safety net for the small percentage of songs that any of us maybe doesn't have fully locked in. And as an archive for those moments when someone shouts out a request that I actually know, but I can't remember some of the chords or a few of the lyrics because I haven't played in a while. So the way that I organize my files reflects that reality. I've got two layers. The first layer is a master list. Every song I've ever built a chart for lives in a single folder, and every file is named the same way. Artist name - song name. Nothing fancy. And since Google Drive lists its files alphabetically by default, my whole repertoire is shown in order of artist and then song automatically. And when I need to find a song fast, someone at the bar shouts out a request for something that I know that I have but just haven't played it in a while, I can pull it up in seconds. And that's the archive's job, fast lookup on demand. Now the second layer is the per gig folder. For each lineup that I play with, I've got a folder where I drop copies of the songs from the big archive that I'm planning to play on that specific night. And in those copies, I rename the files with a set position prefix. So S1/01 for set 1, song 2, etc. So there's two reasons for that prefix. First, it turns the entire folder into a swipeable set list for anyone in the band that wants to follow along on their own device. They open the folder, they click on the first song, and they swipe song by song through the whole set in order. And second, on the nights where I'm not fully memorized on a chunk of the set list, if we've added a bunch of new songs or something like that, then I can use that as well. Quick glance at the iPad, remember the chord that I need, keep playing, and move on. Last thing is formatting. The single most important rule that I follow is 1 page per song. No scrolling, no page turning, no swiping mid-song, ever. Well, almost. The other formatting choice that matters to me is the background color. A black background with contrasting light-colored lyrics avoids having a great big pale glow on my face, which looks really nasty, especially in low light. And the last piece is power. Since my iPad is also doubling as the control surface for my digital mixer, the battery can drain pretty fast, so the iPad is always plugged in on stage. And I also make sure to have sleep mode disabled, just so that the iPad doesn't suddenly go dark midway through a song. Yeah, that's definitely not fun. With every chart built in a consistent way and each file named for ease of use, the iPad itself is no longer the focus of my performance. It's there, providing an important function, but it mainly stays out of the way to let me and my band perform with confidence. And in the end, it really is just a page of lyrics with some chords on it.